Well, good afternoon. I have the opportunity to kind of recap what you've been discussing in regards to the new perspectives on Paul. It's an interesting area of theological debate as you've been reading in your articles, and also potentially any of your commentaries, newer commentaries, may have mentioned the new Paul perspective on how he sees justification or the nation of Israel as this new covenant of grace inaugurated by God. And historically, as you look at the issues that J.D.G. Dunn in 1982 is the one that begins to emerge on the scene and built his theological framework on off of Sanders' work in Paul and the Palestinian Judaism. Here he's trying to argue in regards to how this new community is inaugurated in many ways the view of God's law on the nation of Israel. It's multifaceted, and for me to try to describe it in 2 to 3 minutes would almost be ridiculous. But needless to say, I would encourage you to wrap your minds around Dunn's work and even Sanders, and probably the leading influential theologian today would be N.T. Wright, as much of a moderate, trying to be very evangelical in his thoughts regarding the book of Romans and even Paul's epistles as he understands the nation of Israel and its connection with the church. And so one thing to note, one of the challenges that N.T. Wright gives to us is he asks the question, do we rightly interpret, or do we look at the scripture, namely the New Testament writings of Paul, from a Western perspective? Do we look at it with a bias and our understanding of a justification and how we interpret being declared righteous? And is that righteousness a corporate justification? Does it belong to the people of God in community by grace? And so those are some challenges as you look at the new perspectives on Paul. Probably one thing to do is, if you have a local theological library near you, to check out some of N.T. Wright's books as he sees it. There's one book called The Apostle Paul Set Free, in which he begins to argue in that book even some of the new perspectives or the new covenant in its relationship to the law, the nomos of God, and how keeping the law is also a response to God's mercy and recognizing their obedience to God in that way. Anyways, if you want to dialogue some more on that, be willing to do so offline. But that's kind of the tone of this week, and kind of as we recap some of your readings is to look at that and maybe wrestle some more. There's some great articles online through Bible.org. I may post that for you in a separate link. God's blessing.